Music Fit Radio.
What?
Hey.
How cool is that? Who is that?
Brand new.
That's a Music Fit Radio. I'm from Australia. Groggy! Guys, two of my best friends.
Woo! We're here.
You guys are gonna have to fill me in. Like, what are we talking about? I was meanwhile trying to make that scratch track. Like, Mike has to dip out. What are we talking about? What we got today?
No, we got you. But first things first, as we started in the last, I don't know, month or so.
Yeah.
Mike, what you listening to this week?
Ooh, I'm so excited to reveal this. Midnight Gossip, which we talked about before on the show. My friends Nikki and Mickey. Oh my God, they dropped their new track, Tightrope. It is so good. I was like, y'all, and I was privy to like the sneak peeks, and that just doesn't do justice. Even though you think you know, and then when it comes out and it hits, it slapped me in the face last night. Like I stayed up waiting to like get to the midnight Eastern, so like it was past my bedtime. I'm like, okay, go, and I'm like, oh. And then they did the twingle, which is perfect. Very good release strategy. You put the one song on, and then you have the instrumental as well, or you put it on another UPC. Oh my goodness. And that'll increase your streams. It's brilliant marketing, excellent work. Nikki, she is a genius when it comes to music marketing, and Mickey is just such a genius with the way that like he understands graphics and promotion and stuff like that. And like the song is so good. So I immediately, what do? I go, oh, I can play this on handpan. So like this morning, I'm like sitting cracking on handpan.
Yes.
Like seriously, I'm like, guys, I love your song, and I've already like, with your permission, please let me put this on my handpan album. I really want to cover it. It's so good. Check it out, Tightrope by Midnight Gossip.
Nice.
How about you?
I'm gonna kick it over to Meg first, since we've got a new face on. On the Coach's Corner. Welcome everybody, Megan.
Who are you? And
give us a little
listener.
Long time fan. Thanks for having me.
First time listener.
First time caller. Oh my God, this is so crazy.
I'm so nervous right now.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What you listen to?
Listening to this past week has been Mother, thanks to Mr. Schwartz.
That's fucking outrageous. That's like calls for the not the rock. I almost hit the rock. That calls for the air horn though.
Yes.
Yeah, that's better. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I got into that song you played me, It's All Right, and then that they have taken over my Spotify now, which is amazing.
Oh my goodness.
It's working for the most part. I still got my Christmas songs in there right now that I'm listening to.
Yep. Clay in the
New Christmas album dropping soon.
You're very excited for that, I know. Okay, well here, like, can we just go back, rewind? What songs, like, are you sticking with that album? Like, what other songs by Mother have you really dove in on? That's really big for me. Like,
that album, the names I couldn't
Dance
tell
and
you
Cry?
right now.
Dance and Cry album?
Probably, yes.
That's a heartfelt album. I was in Australia when they came out with that. And then when I moved back, I was in between Hamilton and Australia. And I got to see them on that album in Hamilton, or Guelph. So cool.
That's super cool. I love it lyrically, and they're very, like, each song feels like a story. And I love that.
Wow. Mother.
Let's go.
Guys, let's get on the show. Let's talk about your story songs.
Yeah.
We're buds. Let's talk about that tour. Jer, how about you?
Well, I took a little turn from my I guess trend over the past couple weeks. Maybe it's continuing a trend because I guess last week was a bit international with some German and Russian hip hop.
Nice.
This week I'm on Aussie punk with the Chats.
No,
you know the Chats?
I've heard of. I don't know them, but
oh god, so good.
Shit,
like, they're like
cool.
They're just. I mean, talking about stories.
Yeah.
Maybe a little different stories.
Aussie punk.
Yeah, Aussie punk. Just like they're just like a bunch of kids just telling it how like they see it. Like telling the story of don't bother me. I'm on Smoko.
Wow.
So leave me alone. I'm on Smoko.
Smoko. Oh my god. Dude, that's cool. That's messed up, but I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. any big takeaways from the Aussie? Like, what are you going to bring to your music
I just like,
now?
like for me, like I'm just like punk music was such a foundational element for me, like growing up, and it plucks that string for me. Like this is something killer to like just like run around the apartment and clean, I guess, or like it's energizing I feel like a positive way, even though talking about smoking, not my thing, but
maybe I'll start. I don't know. Like, might even try it. Like, that's how influential music is, kids. Oh God. Oh.
How did you start smoking at almost 40 years old? Some Australian kids.
Australian kids. Fucking Aussies.
That's it.
Just leave it at that. Get them guessing. Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Okay. Cool. That's quite the spread. Like,
We're all over.
I've got like a Portishead type of like dance duo. We got Mother, which is kind of close, but then we got like Aussie punk. That's cool. But that just goes to show like how wildly different music can be in bringing people together, and like that's just a focus point. Like now we're all talking. Like how does that?
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, like we talked about this before, but like some of my favorite shows that I've ever done have been those, and I know you've said this too. Is some of our favorite bills have been the lineup that makes no sense, where you've got like a 70s style rock band, a country band, and a res hip hop group, all on the same bill, and it's like, oh, this kills.
So good. I love it because it gives variety. Again, no song sounds the same. Why should it look the same? No bill, right?
Yeah.
Hey,
That's
Meg.
deep. Hey.
Thank you. I'm just gonna look at what I did on your thing. Tell me if that's right. Did I get that right? On your
Oh,
name?
fancy. Yeah.
Did that work?
Yeah, thanks.
Is that right? All right. Perfect.
Yeah,
Oh,
thanks.
I was thinking about changing Jeremy's to just weird.
Just weird. Act weird.
He's weird. Just like, what else can I do? I'm the puppeteer.
I was looking
Guys.
for that button and was scared to touch things.
Nah, we good. We good. Yeah, I know, right? Like, I didn't know what I was doing. That's why I was like, oh.
Riverside.
Riverside, yeah. Okay. You guys had a powwow while I disappeared to make music. What came of this? What have we decided that we've landed on for topics?
So one of the things that was brought up was like, I'm going to posit this as a question as far as like a training perspective of what actually constitutes as cardio work.
Oh.
You know, oftentimes we look at that, me being the weightlifter, I'm like anything over 5 reps. That's cardio.
Fucking walking upstairs, bro.
When we're peaking for competition, that is a real thing.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because we're looking for specificity of the training.
Yep.
I'll pass this one over to Meg. What is from your perspective as an athletic therapist, like what do you see as like what are our goals from cardiovascular training, and how would we start to categorize some of the activities that we have that could be beneficial for high performing athletes and artists?
It's a funny topic for me because we don't even really learn a lot about that in school, which is wild to me looking back. Yeah. Like everything's so heavily focused on strength. Well, not even strength training, to be honest. It's focused on corrective exercise and your
What the fuck? Isn't every name me an exercise that's not fucking corrective? Seriously. Like, let's stop and think about that. What the fuck is corrective exercise?
For the dysfunctional movement patterns.
Oh.
And like that whole rabbit hole that we can go down.
Okay.
Like that's where
I get it. I know. I understand. I'm poking fun at my own friggin' mentor, Paul Check. He dubbed that. He coined that. I'm like, isn't name an exercise? It's not corrective though.
Yeah.
At the
But
end
also
of the day.
it creates this like it creates the same thing of like something that I've struggled with a lot in like just not even in the coaching industry, but even in the music industry, is that it creates this like ivory tower versus the rest of us of like, well, you have to be a certain education to be able to do corrective exercises really well.
Really?
Like the finger wag of like, you don't know quite enough. because
Yeah,
you don't have
certified and
the right
screened.
letters after your name.
FMS.
Not saying education is important, folks.
No, it is.
I'm not,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so it's practical application. God
Yeah.
damn. How many kids I fired? Like, because like, yeah, I get it. You did kines. You still don't know how to talk to a human being.
Yeah.
I get it. I understand. Yeah, 4 years of go work on the floor for 4 years. Learn how to be a human. Anyway, I hijacked that. Meg, what is your? Sorry, I didn't mean to. Fuck corrective exercise. That'll be a different topic. But yes,
Come back next week for that
next
one.
week. Stay tuned.
Jeremy and Mike get really fired up while Meg sits in the corner and goes, I don't know what they're talking about anymore.
I'm just gonna sit here and watch. Give me my popcorn. There's such a focus on that, and then maybe you'll get into the strength training world of things. Yet we don't have a base of capacity for people to do these things, and then we wonder why you go play a show for 3 hours and get hurt, and like all these overuse and all these other injuries because we don't talk about aerobic training from a rehab perspective, especially. Never mind. You go to most strength coaches, it's let's just do circuits of stuff and get your heart rate as high as we can and lift heavy shit, which is awesome. Until it's not.
Until it's go until you, and that's the same across anything. I just had 2 conversations with both a dietitian. There's so much overuse, overstim. Do this. Whether it's diets, whether it's eat this, do this. There's so much like stim. And same with like the last conversation I was on with Rem, and it was just like talking about like bro hockey players. The same thing. It's all how much can we do? How much can we pack in and sandwich in here because that's going to make us stronger or whatever. And it's just like, until it breaks. Yeah. Like, and then you're laid up for how long, right?
Well, I like to reference my good friends over at 023 of one of the principles being do less first. Yeah. Especially when you're when you're trying to make changes for yourself. And I have to remind myself of that quite often because it's so easy to add things.
Oh yeah.
When I look at some of the education I've had from like Dr. Mike T. Nelson in part of his metabolic flexibility cert, one of the things he talks about is how sleep is a big lever for us. Like if we can really change sleep, we can make some pretty big physiologic changes. Yeah. And as a coach, trying to get somebody to sleep more is pretty difficult because it requires people to take things away from their day. Yeah. It requires people to subtract a lot out of their life. And so that makes it really difficult to enact as a coach and diminishes its impact in a lot of ways because of that difficulty. And when folks are looking to make whatever change, like taking that do less first principle is a big, big game changer because it's so easy to just continually add until it's too much.
Yeah, we just talked about that with the 6. I think we even talked about that last week with like the 6 stressors, right? If you're following the check camp, you got your physical, you got your emotional, you got your nutrition, you got your chemical, you got your thermogenic, and then you got your electromagnetic. Nobody's talking about the 6th that's the sonic, and we can get into that with how it relates to the music because like that goes back to like people that are listening to trash music when they're working out and they're already overflowing with all of the cortisol and all the that's not the bad thing. It's just that when we add and then it breaks and we go why like duh, and then we send them to Meg.
Yeah. So,
that's what we do. So
kind of works for me in the long run.
Yeah, it works great. Keep doing it, guys. Keep doing it.
Keep doing it. Keep me busy. Yeah, but it's also a really good way for the coaches and therapists to like feel smarter. Because if somebody needs me more, if I'm doing complicated strength programming with them and hyping all that versus me saying, how about you go for a bike ride 3 times a week? Yeah. You'll likely in an initial phase get same if not better results by just going for bike rides or a swim or a long walk.
But that doesn't bring them back to the clinic to make them do the things that they could do anywhere else.
No, and they're not getting the dopamine hit from sweating because that's the badge of honor from a good workout.
Yeah.
right? Or the soreness. We
Yeah.
talked about that. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm really sore today. Must be a great workout. Leanne and I were just talking about that. We got to
Yeah.
get her on the show next week too. Like, we were just literally, we riffed for like 3 hours. And their badge of honor, especially in Australia, like
Yeah.
they are so heavy on this like hardcore workout. And they don't get it. They don't. That's why
No.
she's so passionate about introducing like a full comprehensive recovery program with her athletes, because it's like these people have no education and they wonder why they're like, and that leads to so many other things like you're starting to see too, where it's like that chronic stress through the physical mean will add up to other underlying pathogen, other underlying issues that start to manifest because they haven't taken care of themselves, because they're actually overstressing, and that causes a whole host of other problems that leads to big time medical issues. Right?
Yeah.
That's the thing nobody's like actually talking about. I was like, yeah, cool. Like, but then
Yeah.
then what? Right? How do we down regulate? Like, what is the solution for you guys?
For down regulation.
Well, just for in general, like getting this conversation to people, like you don't actually have to do this as much.
Well, I was just laughing to myself a little bit because I have a document somewhere, and I was just pulling that up just to look at it. Because one of the things that I was ranting about in a Google Doc to myself at one point, because that's what I do sometimes.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, because like I gotta get this down somewhere and not just in a notebook, so that if I'm having a conversation like this, I don't have to go dig in a bin somewhere for a notebook that I wrote in 6 years ago. And one of the things I was talking about in that was, especially in the world of exercise, and especially in like the methodology world of, it has to be powerlifting, it has to be CrossFit, it has to be, I don't know, WEC method, it has to be whatever branded specific thing.
Yeah.
It's like in a world of these, or like corporate entities of, like an Orange Theory, F45s, Bar 3s, all of the corporate fitness types of applications of, when we exist in a world where most people will get just as good of a benefit for adding an hour of walking a day than they would for an hour of high intensity work in whatever gym setting or whatever circuit type of setting, is the gym actually that valuable then?
I can tell you firsthand. I go for a very different reason. Maybe that's a topic we can jump to, because like I go for a very good reason. I've had these conversations with both of you privately too. It's just like I go more for the like connection of seeing other people. I can do everything that I want to do outside or here. It's more of the social experiment for me. I really enjoy seeing other people, acknowledging other people, connecting with other people, talking. Like the simplest things for me really help me feel better and allow me to put my higher vibration back out into the world to help other people be happy. I've been told numerous times, like, thank you so much for your show. Like, you're talking with like somebody checking people in. Like, it's that simple connection moment. And then having conversations with people in the steam or in the ice bath where, you're dispelling or debunking whatever comes up out of these people's mouths. And I'm actually, that's incorrect completely. So let me take this from here, right? And like, we'll have like conversation, we'll have good debates. So it's more of the social part for me. Honestly, if you want an answer, no, you don't need a gym. You definitely don't. But that doesn't sell. It's not sexy.
Oh yeah, there's
Doesn't
no money in telling people to go just take a walk.
Take a hike though.
I make lots of money on that one.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's the thing though, is like, it's really interesting because for a long time, Whoop, I always come back to them, but they were very, very known advocates of not like completely dismissing the steps. And they've slowly reintroduced that, saying new research shows that steps are actually a really, really good way. And so, owned it, said, yeah, we were wrong. New research has shown us that this is actually a very valuable metric, even more valuable than your cardio CrossFit workouts and shit like that. It's like, this is the stuff that's actually helping, like when we talk blue circle shit, like when we got longevity up, that's the things that they're doing. They're walking like 20K. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's great. That's awesome. Do that. Like, why are we not doing that? Why are we not just doing the simple things like get outside in sunlight, get down by like 3 birds with 1 stone, outside, daylight, breathing, bare feet. Like, let's go. Like, walk barefoot. Holy shit. You're the weirdo now.
Yeah. And like, I'm not even certain where the narrative came from that you need to be in the gym high intensity 4 or 5 times a week, which is the common.
The gym. Good Life Fitness, actually. I worked for them. They told us you were not doing good unless you sell people on 3 times a week minimum for a year. I'm like, that sounds stupid. Like,
Yeah.
they're
I mean,
going
like-
from nothing to 300%. What the fuck?
But I mean, that also, that can make some sense. Like, it is very much a business driven
Yeah.
narrative of like, you have to do these things. It can also, the means inform, or the extremes inform the means. Of like, you look at the old school bodybuilders who were back in the 70s. You look at the pumping iron documentaries and stuff. We're like, oh, they're living
have
in
you
the
watched
gym.
that yet? Meg, have you watched Pumping Iron?
No.
Arnold
That'll be your
Schwarzenegger.
homework. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Oh God.
The
Oh yeah.
squats? Oh my god. I can't wait to see your reaction. Can we do like a reaction post or something with Meg? We should start
Next week
doing
we're
that.
just gonna be watching that all together.
Watch that with Meg, and I just want to see her face when they start squatting each other.
Beautiful. Let's do it.
It's
Something.
definitely a whole vibe from a whole different time.
I can
Good
imagine.
Shit you don't see nowadays, that's for sure.
But like we see that like come through in the popular culture of stuff like that, where it's no pain, no gain, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you're not suffering in the gym, are you actually even training? And then on top of that, yes, there are gyms that are very affordable. You look at your Globo gyms, your 24-hour ones that are $10 a month or whatever, and then you have ones that are on the higher end. And so if it's more expensive, I'm definitely going to be driven to want to visit as much as I possibly can, because I want to get my value out of it. And so that can also drive some of that psychology of feeling the need or feeling the urge to show up more than I may need to, or more than would be beneficial for me. I know I was there when I started CrossFit. I was like, I gotta go 6 days a week because I'm paying money for this shit. I'm gonna get every dollar I can get.
Dude, even the branding, even the way that yoga studio markets. Meg, you can probably speak to this because I know we just had that conversation a few weeks ago about what drop-in classes are. But the first thing that they say, oh yeah, you can pay a drop-in, it's $20. But then, I mean, you might as well just do the monthly because it's like 2 drop-ins and already made up for it. I'm like, I'm not thinking like that. I don't think in monetary value. I'm thinking about how much yin do I actually fucking need? Do I need a whole studio worth, or can I, like, I don't need that process. I don't need to like think, oh, that's such a scarcity mind. That's such a scarcity mind. So when we start thinking about that, then we get into that vicious cycle of like, if we don't go, now we're bad humans. Oh, we feel this guilt and this shame about not making it to the gym, even though we're paying money. And then it's a whole different conversation. It's wild. But yeah, it's business. It's psychology. It's unnecessary, and it drives people, because if I were to say, Jeremy, I'm going to give you $20 if you can, we're going to run from here to the street light over there. And if I beat you, I'm going to take $20 from you. You're going to be more motivated than if I were to say, Jeremy, if you win, I'm going to give you $20. You'd be like, it's a loss aversion, right?
Yeah.
So when we think like that, and how marketing bundles it, especially in the fitness and wellness industry, they bundle it on fear aversion. If you don't do this, you're a bad human being.
If you don't show up 3 times a week, your mother won't love you.
Yeah, probably not. I certainly won't. Right? Jesus. Darwin definitely won't.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
What kind of I've done that before. I've had some very some clients who've been very, very driven in performance in the past, and we'll be having a conversation on like, well, how do you feel like you're doing nutrition wise? Like, just check in on these things. Like, I feel like I'm doing terrible. I was off with the family this weekend and I just ate like crap. And I was like, okay, let's actually write down everything you ate. and they start writing it down. Like, I had 3 Oreos and a beer, and I was like, "You monster!
You
3
horrible human.
Oreos!
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah,
Yikes.
but like being able to point out some of the absurdity of those beliefs that we create for ourselves. Of like, I'm now creating all of this static in my head in this judgment of
Yeah.
failure, even though it's not
Really,
even that big of a deal.
3 Oreos. I mean, I've cleared a Tim Tam on a phone call with Leanne, especially. I will clear an entire 11 Tim Tams in that
Yeah.
hour.
Wicked.
Yeah, and then I'll go and walk. But I don't. I'm like, yeah. So I fucking did it. Own it. Like, okay, cool. All right. Now I've got energy to go fucking run. Woo!
Oh, sugar.
Right? Like, look out! It's like I had a whole box right now.
Well, I think part of the conversation of what led us here too is that like, you do those extremes. Like, we want to be able to handle some of those extremes, especially like, just general cardiovascular training versus high intensity or interval training. Like, we want to be able to handle these things from time to time, but we don't necessarily need to be our everyday intake. Just like, yeah, if you eat Oreos you eat an entire thing of Oreos every single day, your health's probably not going to be so great. Same thing can be true of overtraining in one specific modality all of the time as well.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's just an overstrain injury, and it's a different variety. Like, if you keep on doing this, your wrist will fucking hurt. Like I'm a drummer, and like if you don't have the proper, of course. So if you do the same training modality, if you run all the this is a perfect example. I was a speed skater. Oh my God, we made left turns all day. I couldn't even walk left over right. Like, I literally will like you ever want to watch something out of a movie? Is watch an Olympic team try to make left over right crossovers. Hilarious.
So to make a right turn, did you have to take 3 lefts?
Dude, 3 lefts. Oh, yeah, Michigan lefts all day. Yeah. Like, I was like Zoolander, man. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then I went and played hockey one time, just a shinny game, and I couldn't actually turn the other way. I was a great hockey player one way. Like, all right. I'm playing the off wing because I couldn't even turn the other way on my skates, because you get into so many different patterns, and that brings up a whole different world. I think, coming back to the whole point of like cardiovascular training, I think one of the things, and tell me if you guys want to go this way, is that one of the biggest myths that we could really demystify is the fact that so many people still think of cardio as like fat loss. And sure, there could be some value on that because of what the treadmills that they built to tell you that say. Fat loss program, right? However, like, to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, cardiovascular training is meant to provide more nutrients to all of the tissues in your body through your cardiovascular system. So you have a more effective blood pumping to get all the nutrients to the places that are usually sore or need attention, because that's what your food is. It's the fuel, right? So like, that's the biggest myth about cardiovascular training as opposed to like strength training. Like, that's the thing that it's good for. So if we have a better base, a better engine, we're going to be able to perform in all of the other things that we want to do. Correct? Mm-hmm. Anybody disagree? Does that make most sense?
Yeah. I mean, I've fallen victim to that trap in the past of like, well, it has to be the highest intensity. My heart rate has to be so high, and like that workout has to be 2 hours long of no breaks. Yep. In order to lose the body fat or whatever it is that I'm trying to do. And I actually saw, this is anecdotal for myself and also the clients that I've worked with, but I've actually seen better benefits of, get my heart rate up above like 140 twice a week in like a very purposeful way, lift heavy things 3 times a week, and then just make sure that I'm moving more. In like that lower steady state cardio, zone 2, whatever buzzword is whatever is the current way
zone 2 these days, yeah.
Describing just moving your body without feeling like you're out of breath, and doing that over an extended period of time. Those are the things that are really going to help, especially body composition. It's going to help body composition way more than I don't know, whatever the hottest trend is on the hit circuit type of workouts.
Yeah.
Meg, anything that you want to add or that you've seen from your practice and your experience?
Well, you just
Around
took that
performance.
course, right? Like you got that workshop at least, right?
Yeah, I was just in a workshop 2 weeks ago now,
Yeah.
centered all around this, and I think the biggest takeaway from that and just how that shows up in my daily practice is how, and I'd love your guys' thoughts on this from the mindset perspective too, is how to get people to see that important step of building the base, because all we're talking about is the goal of getting on stage, back to work, back to sport, whatever. How much time do we need to spend actually building a base before we'll actually get the benefit of the CrossFit training or the powerlifting or any of that? Because
Yeah.
everyone's like going from 0 to 100 in my world, and because that's why they're in my world, and it's because they get hurt. Because I have done nothing, and now all of a sudden I
Try to
do
do
this
everything.
for and they're thinking so much on that strength training side of it. For me to go there and tell them, we're doing 3 to 6 hours a week of building an aerobic base, they're like, screw you,
Yeah.
that's too boring.
Yeah. It is the boring work, unfortunately, though. But that is the
Yeah.
stuff that. But that's
the
stuff that
important stuff.
drives. It's the stuff that drives the outcomes more than. It's interesting to me that, and I've like again, I've fallen victim to all this stuff many
Yeah.
times. I still fall victim to it in my own head of like, well, if you want to squat 250 again, like, you better start squatting for real, kid. Like. It's like, oh, reality is okay. Let's actually walk before we run,
Yeah.
in the most realistic terms of like, okay, can I actually get an hour's worth of walking in every single day to build the base and get, if I'm going to be building towards a peak over 3 months, 40% of that should be building my general physical preparedness base to be able to take on whatever peak I'm actually building towards.
Yeah.
Whether that's from a strength training perspective, competitively, or from a performance perspective as an artist. Like, can I get 40% of my training to be built towards just general physical preparedness?
Yeah.
And that can be long, slow, and steady.
Yeah.
Walking on a
Yeah.
treadmill and watching TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because the look I get from people when I tell them once you get to the point of having a tendon injury, you're looking at 8 to 12 months.
Yeah.
And you would think I stabbed somebody's dog when I tell them that.
Yeah.
Well, you probably did.
Well, how much of that gets tied up into their identity of being the person
Right.
that
Yeah. That's
can
that's
only
the
do
mindset.
that sport?
Yeah.
That's where you got to be really careful, because I fell into that
Yeah.
hole, man, when I was speed skating and I got injured and I had to retire. I was forced to retire.
I have one of those
Forced.
stories too.
It's yeah, right?
Yeah.
Like Meg, big time. Like, oh my goodness. So now I'm not an athlete. What now? And I just sat like a bump on the log, man. It was bad because we tie ourselves to that thing. So yeah, of course, if that's all you got, if that's all that you think that you do, that's gonna hit you like a friggin' sledgehammer when you hear you can't do the only thing that you are supposed to do. That's what they hear, right?
Yeah.
Well,
The
it
only
goes
thing that
deeper
you
than
are
that.
here, yeah, that's
Because
it.
they're no longer the person they thought they were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big identity switch. Like,
Yeah.
Right.
So
So they're taking 3 to 6 months to rehab. Then they're taking 3 to 6 months to build a base before they can do the thing that they actually want to do. So what's the entry point for you guys?
I would go right back to the obstacle to opportunity, because they'll see that as an obstacle. They'll see all of those barriers of entry. Like, I have to do that first. I have to do that first. And their language is all messed up, right? They
Right.
have to. I'm like, no. Like, you want to be back here? You get to do this to get back here. Look at the guys like MMA fighters. Great example. Like the guys that, like, you snap a leg on another man's quad, like Connor, and you're not walking, let alone fight. You're not walking for a year.
Yeah.
like you got bolts. Even when you do walk, you might, and then the amount of psychological damage about you fearing another kick to that guy's leg because like, your leg could snap. Your leg snaps. Like that's something that's going to stick with you for a while. So now how do we look at where the language comes in on the conscious level to be like, okay, and let's flip that around. That's actually an opportunity. If you can get them like excited to learn that, because like the one thing artist, athlete, they all have in common is definitely competitiveness. So if you can put that and pose that, reframe that as like, this is your challenge if you so to accept. Otherwise, you'll never do this again. So like your choice. And then they'll just be like, what? Yeah. So then we can look at that first phase of rebuild, and this is our rehab stuff, and these are the things that are going to set us up as the base. And just paying very close attention to what kind of language they're using would be my first bit. Because if they have to do something, they're not going to. If they need to do something, they're not going to. Right? It's going to be much more resistance there. If they get to and they treat it as like, this is a new challenge. Like when I'm learning a new song, that's a new challenge. I like that. It's challenging. And when I get there, it's very rewarding. Framing it that way and then setting up the base as like, okay, now we can start our engines. Like we got through the first phase. Congratulations. Small rocks move mountains. You hear me say it all the time. Small rocks move mountains. And then we get into that momentum of like, okay, now we're revving up. This is pregame. This is preseason. Let's go. We got 6, maybe 8 months left before we got to be ready to go. Can you do that? And it just switches their mindset of like, oh shit, there's not actually enough time. And they start really ponying up. I've done this a few times, right? So it's like, overcoming injury or overcoming setbacks is something that I know the Music Fit method really addresses well, because it is mindset. It is really psychological. Jer, what do you think, man?
So I look back to how I've done this in the past and what has worked really well, and I'll even rewind it. Like definitely everything that you're talking about, Mike. We get there, but a precursor to that for me is. Especially when somebody's coming in with like an area of dysfunction or like return to sport type of activity, is I get obnoxiously curious about why this is important to them.
Yeah.
And because when it is at that surface level of like, well, hockey's my life or like weightlifting's my life, it's like, okay, but what? Let's remove that from the equation and what does this mean for your life? One of the poignant examples is still one of my current clients. She came to me almost 3 years ago, walking around with an 8 out of 10 back pain, having gone to spinal specialists, any specialist she could get her hands on, and they all go, I don't know, your back hurts. We don't know why. And she's a 3rd-degree black belt in a kung fu style called Shoshu. Pretty important for her to be able to teach her students on how to throw kicks and not buckle over in pain.
Right.
And so we got deep into that, of what that means for her as a martial artist, what that means for her as a mom, not being able to bend over and tie her shoes. What are all those small things that are so foundational to why is it important for you to work with me on this?
Yeah.
Why should I give a shit? And that's not what I say, but like that's what like make me care about it, because I want to make sure that you care about this enough to actually do the work. So that when I'm asking you to do the really boring stuff of, all right, I need you to go for a 45-minute walk today.
Yeah.
And you go, yeah, that's cute. I'm not going to do that. You're actually invested enough in that so that if we do come to the point where, hey, I've noticed that you've been missing out on this work and you're not doing it. Remember back 6 months ago when we had that first conversation of why this is so important to you? Is this no longer important? Is this no longer the case? Has that changed?
Yeah.
And that makes it easier to keep people invested in their own progress with it. When things get really tough and really, really, when things get to be in that state of where it's easier to let it go than it is to continue, or when life gets lifey and gets in the way.
How many times do you hear that? Hey, oh, it's just after this, then I'll jump back in. Man,
I don't
There's
have time.
never is no man. Oh, it's just the wrong time. Like, okay, well, when January rolls around, you're still gonna be there, and it's gonna
Yeah.
be just a different thing, maybe.
Yeah.
It's really. I'm dealing with a few folks right now on the current roster where I'm just sitting here going like, man, like I'm borderline rescue right now, and that's not the way this is supposed to go. Like, you got to revisit this for you. If I care about it more than you, which it's profoundly. Some people have even checked in for 2 weeks. I'm like, that clearly you're checked out. That's- And if you're doing that in one, you're probably doing that in multiple areas of your life, folks.
Whoa.
Yep.
Yeah.
It can be revealing. You know, your
Yeah.
your fitness can be very. For me, it's actually one of my staple points. I look at other areas of my life where I go, I'm doing well in my wellness. Why? And I study it. And then I look at it in my bank account. I'm like, I should apply the same principles that I've applied in this for like my spending habits, because I find myself in a similar situation when this happens. Or when, procrastination on projects. Well, I don't procrastinate my workouts. How? And I get curious. I go, how? What actually happens? Never why, because that's judgy, but why? What about the movement excites me? Why do these things become first priority? Oh, okay, cool, because I'm actually focused on the end goal. So any other thing doesn't get in the way because the end goal is the first. Like, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I make sure that happens. So apply those areas of your life. If you're sitting here watching, like, oh, it doesn't make sense. Think about the areas that you thrive in your life. Could be relationships, could be career, could be in your personal wellness journey, or wherever you're at. Maybe your art, maybe your creativity. Wherever you're really, really thriving, look at what you're doing right. And that's why I'm such a big advocate about journaling. Journal all the good stuff too. Write down everything from every day. What happened? What was something you were really proud of? What was a big win? Because then you'll start to see the trend. And then you'll be able to celebrate those wins in other areas of your life where you're not winning as much as you like, right? And that's the key to success, is really just starting and keeping going on that. Right? Yeah. Thank you, Meg. That was really cute.
Meg, I am curious, since
Yeah.
you did your seminar education really helped us to spur into this topic. What were some of the biggest takeaways from that experience that would apply to our artists, athletes, and mixture of the two?
Ensuring that the training you're doing actually matches the goal, as opposed to what feels good or what everyone else on social media is doing.
Fuck yes.
Right?
How many
And
times have we
like,
talked about that, Mike?
Mic drop, Meg. Thank you. It's not just us crazy fucks.
Yeah.
First thing she says, she got the floor. Don't fucking follow other people. Good. Do it specific.
yeah, because I mean, there's a couple sides to it. And the first being you like that camp of people who want to increase their cardiac base because zone 2, like, great, cool. Is your training actually happening in that range at a physiological level? Like, not just because your heart rate watch says you're in that zone? Because we can get into the whole like slow twitch, fast twitch muscle thing and what your blood pressure is doing and all the other factors. Whereas most people, because of the hype on zone 2, is like, as long as my heart rate says I'm in that zone, I'm good. But that's not going to bring them closer to their goal necessarily. So that was the biggest reminder for me to check myself, like, personally and with my clients. Like, are we actually training what we need to do? If the goal is capacity, is the goal endurance, is the goal risk mitigation, or is it just hypersensitivity from chronic pain and we just got to work on more tolerance type things? And at that like initial entry point, maybe it matters a little bit less if we're starting truly from ground zero or like behind the start line. Then I'm not going to be as critical. And sure, maybe that body weight circuit will work for someone's cardio base just because purely the level
They're
of
moving.
deconditioning. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
moving.
they're
And if
finally
that's going to
moving.
like get the habits being built,
Yeah.
great. Then we can start to fine tune things after,
Yeah.
as opposed to giving them something unrealistic from the start.
Yeah.
But that's a different situation than that high performance, uninjured,
Yeah. Wherever
Yeah.
they're met, like if they're
Yeah.
more in the performance phase of getting very specific with their
Yeah.
exercise for performance, that's a totally different
Yeah.
athlete than somebody who's looking at just moving.
Yeah,
baseline,
and like when we talk
steps,
about
right?
even like your girl Taylor Swift's a great example of it. Like she trains to sing on a treadmill
Yeah.
for hours.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Has to.
as specific as you can get for your training for your
Right, and when
individual
you look
sport.
at her goal of running around for, isn't her show like 4 hours or
4
something
hours.
right now?
Yeah.
Like
It's
if
a
all
wild
she's
show.
doing is an hour of hit training, that's not gonna help
No.
get to that
no.
goal.
Well, it's like saying I'm gonna do ultra marathons by doing 15-minute sprint or like
Yeah.
15-minute sprints.
Yeah,
Now,
exactly.
I will add this caveat to be the thorn in everybody's side. One of the fastest ways to get that aerobic capacity is through the anabolic threshold, right? Like to hit your anabolic threshold through that really quick intervals. Now, the caveat is here's a great example. If I could skate a 500 as fast as I fucking could, and then take 8 laps, and then do it again, and do it again, and do it again 8 times over. That was a 2-hour training session on ice. It was insane. But those 8 laps in between gave me just enough recovery time to build that actual threshold up over time. So, and we're not talking like that didn't happen, it didn't change in one day. My VO2 increased 3% in 6 months, though. That's fucking outstanding. And that was only because we were so far away. This was the early stages of off season. We were so far away, we could add that type of volume. So there is value in really increasing the anaerobic, but the anaerobic threshold only contributes. It's not like you turn off the aerobic system when the anaerobic is on. It's not like that. Like where people think like, oh, this is my anaerobic
Light switch.
system. Yeah, okay. My ATP is only working right now. No, you fucking idiot. No, the whole thing works. So if we can, that's why I'm like a freak, because my aerobic system is so far profound because my heart is literally flipped around. I get really great oxygenated blood to the muscles at an astounding rate because like my left does what my right was supposed to when I was born, right? So like my heart is actually, the defect is definitely an advantage for endurance sport because I get really, really good oxygenated blood. And my right side has like been able to grow and keep up because of the conditioning. So like just using myself as an example, my aerobic capacity, I can do a talk test at 200 BPM for my heart. Like I'm still talking. People are like, what the fuck? And I'm like, yeah, I can do that. So like there is some worth to increasing all of those things. But at the end of the day, your baseline fitness is aerobic conditioning. You need to have that. Because
And
the
I
people like Swizzy, sorry, just to wrap that, bundle it up here. The people like Swizzy doing those they didn't get there by doing the 15 seconds. They did that for building it up over a span of, so you could do 15, but they're doing that for fucking 4 hours. And her songs, if you look at it, 2-3 minutes and then a break. 2-3 minutes and then a break. 2-3 minutes and then a break. So it's very much interval training. It's like 4-1. And if you can condition somebody to get 4-1, holy shit. Then try it nasal. Oh God, you're a superhuman.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I was gonna say, to your situation or example that you just gave too, though, like there was measurement and a plan. It wasn't just throwing shit at the wall
No.
and seeing what happens. And I think that's the other big thing that came for me out of that workshop that I was in too, is like there has to be the zoomed out view of things and how much, your special heart aside, how much work went into building that like you didn't do that first week of off season, right?
This was like from the time that I was playing hockey,
Yeah.
like when I was an 8-year-old.
Right,
6
so there's
years
like
old,
all this growth that gets to
30
that
some
point.
years, yeah.
Yeah. Like, because I do similar training now too with my mace workouts where
Yeah.
it's repeated 2-minute sets, like, and I'm hitting failure. Like, I wasn't doing that 2 years ago.
No, like I remember those days. Like
No, I was too busy crying. On the,
I love them, yeah.
like, different kind of heart rate was getting
Different
up when
kind
I
of
was
heart rate,
training.
yeah. Very emotional. Different kind of tears, different kind of fluid. That was weird.
Yeah, that was a moment.
Yeah. That's the thing.
But that's my point, is like it takes time and a plan. And that is, in my world, very underestimated, and where people are being set up to fail.
I'm going to come back to this because what you're talking about, everybody
Yeah.
wants to get here.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be in this burn. I want to sweat and feel great. And they forgot, and this is just on strength training. They forgot about the actual building process so that we don't injure our joints. And they forgot about the most foundational of all foundational, the stability, the mobility, and the flexibility. All of these guys need to be in place and core general fitness before any of this happens, because we can't even identify the problem areas or the issues of dysfunction or functional movement patterns that like really align the gait or anything that goes into like, because now, okay, well, we skipped that and now we're throwing, and this is what we see all the time in places like CrossFit where people go in and they don't have a great coach who's just a cheerleader, and they're like, go, 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 and that person doesn't actually have the capacity to be overhead. They shouldn't even be on the bar, but they're trying to get them to doing pull-ups, and it's like, no, the person should just like fucking hang, like that's it.
Yeah.
Or Metcon programming that is just a random workout generator.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But I mean, to Meg's point of the plan side of things, like we know that really well from the strength training side of things of progressive overload, but like you still need to do that for your cardiovascular training as well.
Absolutely.
Even if you are doing something circuit based, like how are we actually measuring that you are progressively making those changes to make improvement?
Yeah.
If it's random shit every week in whatever interval block that it is, how do you know if you actually are making any progress with it? Or are you in this hedonistic like validation of yourself of that I'm working really hard because I sweat a lot and my heart rate was really hard. I'm working so hard that I should be getting results.
Yeah.
Are you? What are you actually tracking in that?
Oftentimes, as soon as I see that, people that come to me, they think the two things. It's either the movement, they need to move more, or they need to eat better. Because they see the aesthetic and they feel the energy, and that's what social media tells them. I'm like, yeah, but you're actually not sleeping. So, like, if you do this and you don't sleep, you're going to actually reduce all of the things that you want. That's not a good thing, right? And they're like, So, like, measuring things, man, it's so underrated because, like, when we talk about cardio, I mean, zones are great, and just the base. You say you don't have any metrics or whatever. Can you climb a flight of stairs? Can you climb 2 flights? Can you climb 3 without being all huffy puffy? That's a great measure of fitness right there. Like, how many flights of stairs can you walk 2 at a time without breathing hard, like through your nose? Most people, 2, maybe,
I'd die.
maybe.
I feel attacked, Mike. Even at my
I know.
best conditioning, I'm like, shit.
I'm like,
See, my heart's the opposite of yours.
So for me, like, that's where I'm saying is I have a severe advantage, and there's a strong relation on drums. Like, I can play drums forever, right? And then I look at it and I'm like, my perceived rate, if let's use a scale of 10, my perceived rate of exertion is 1, 0. Like, I feel like, nope. And then I look at the stats. My heart rate is like I endurance biked up a mountain for like 2 hours. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Like, it's the exact same thing. Even my whoop is always like, you're cycling, clearly. I'm like, nope, drumming, practice. Not even a show, just practice. Sitting here, just rehearsing. We can do a test. I will A/B test that. I will do that tomorrow. I got rehearsal myself. I got solo rehearsal. I'm going to check it and test it and be like, this is what happens to my heart. And you can do the live readings. And that's the thing, is that hard to manage what we're not tracking. So to Jeremy's point, like, get a certain measure, do the same thing. Even if it's once a week, do the same thing so you can actually gauge if you're improving. Because all of those circuits in the middle, sure, that might be great, but they can be random as shit. If you can take 4 flights of stairs in 3 weeks and you could used to only do 1, that's a significant improvement. And you're like, it's working. Now we're, you know, what did they say? Cooking with gasoline? Yeah, that's something like that.
Yeah. With the planning thing too, another recent learn for me was when talking with one of my hockey guys the other day of where in the day are you doing strength versus cardio?
Oh, yeah.
And so he's in a phase right now where he's flipping all his swims or the awkward zone 2 walk jog thing to the morning
Yep.
as opposed to lifting
Yep.
in the morning. And that was something
Yep.
that was kind of new a little bit from when I worked in a gym and the guys were talking about mTOR and other
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Well,
And like
Ronnie
that was
got
another
nerdy today.
yeah, but that was another really interesting insight for me too of like how are we actually planning?
Yeah, on the microcycle, like during the day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Again, because maybe that's where some of these results aren't happening.
Yep. Absolutely.
Because Whoop told me I should work out in the afternoon
Yeah.
because
Okay.
like I don't know, but should I be doing it in the morning? Should I not? And I don't know. It was interesting.
Well, we go back to the Bulgarians.
Yeah.
You know, I love talking about the Bulgarians. The Bulgarian national team, what they found was
All I know is a Bulgarian split squad.
yeah, it's a Bulgarian national weightlifting
nasty.
team. Made the Bulgarian training method, which to sum it up poorly is some sort of lift twice a day to maximal attempt. So maximal squats in the mornings, usually maximal competition lifts in the evening, usually clean and jerks. What they were finding was that the best areas or the best times for that is 4 hours after waking and 11 hours after waking.
11 hours after waking.
Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. So those are some, when they were doing both. So 4 hours after being awake, you're maxing out your squat. 11
Yeah.
hours after you wake, you're going to max out your snatch.
Those are also
And then
people
go to
that are
bed.
only doing that though, right?
Yes,
Like
they're
that's
very,
that's not
very
your-
hyper specific.
Yeah, that's like me when I was in training and only focusing on skating. Yeah, it was similar. It was very it was very Russian based. It was very old school 70s style, like always on very high volume off season, very high intensity in season. I come with the coach's caveat of it depends.
Yep.
What I do know though is anything after 4 p.m., regardless, is gonna fuck with your circadian for sure. If I miss the gym from 4 o'clock, because like, if you're lifting heavy, like you could get away with like
Yeah.
a hypertrophy, like a bro workout. You can get away with that in the evening. So if I do miss something, I know I'm not doing high intensity. I know I'm not getting my heart rate jacked up because of the sleep, because you produce so much catabolic exercise, in the endorphin, the cortisol levels, everything stress hormone goes up when you do those types of things because you're breaking down tissue. So anything that's going to really take more energy from me than give me, I avoid doing afternoon. Honestly, like after 2 o'clock is like a max for me. If I miss the gym by 2, it's going to be a very easygoing or recovery based foam roll, light jog, bike, like something very, very recovery based. I don't know how you guys feel or if you've played around with those types of things, but yeah, when I was skating, we would do cardio first thing, weights in the evening,
Yeah. So
or
from
afternoon.
totally get that in my own personal life too, but you're artist athletes. You're always playing a show at night
I know.
most of the time.
I
So are
know.
you training at night to adapt to that?
Yes and no. I would prefer to train them to not take those shows. That's the easier thing is that
Yeah.
that's only a thing because it's been a thing forever. That's not actually a thing. When you go
Yeah,
to
so-
Australia, they're flipped. Like they're literally upside down on the other side of the planet and they're doing breakfast and brunch shows. So
Like, please give me a brunch concert. That would be
I
amazing.
know,
Yeah,
right?
right.
That's more of what we need. But yes, because I did find, especially in skating, I'd know where if I'm looking at competition and my skating was at I knew my race times would be 11 or between the hours of 11 and 2, but I would prefer to train in the morning. As we got closer, I would start to shift my training as it got more intense to those ideal times. So yes, I do. And that's one of the frustrations about me is that I'm fucking not a night owl. So I'm ready for bed at 8 and I'm going out to work and I'm helping a band rehearse at 8. right? Because like that's when they need. So if otherwise, if they start to train so that they're going to bed at 8, when they get up for a show, they're ready to go to bed. It's the opposite of what we need. So it's a gradual. So it's a yes and no. Ideal situation though, I try to get people to be like, reconsider those gigs. Ask them why they need that. Ask them why you're going on at 1 o'clock. That makes no sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool.
So you can, yes. But
You know,
you also have a bigger voice.
I mean, I look at it, yeah, the Bulgarians doing their thing. I
Yeah.
don't apply the Bulgarian method at all. So yeah, I look at it from a perspective of also like exactly what Mike's saying of impact to the circadian rhythm, depending on when they go to bed, all of those components. Or if you're a regular person in the world, if 5 p.m. is the only time you can get your workout in,
Yeah.
please, pretty please, do your workout at 5
That's your
p.m.
workout.
Yeah. And so the lifestyle and their life circumstances can drive a lot of these things. And also, I've had people who just prefer to work out later in the afternoon. Like it just makes them feel better. It doesn't work for me personally, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't work for somebody else. I've had many clients who, 6 p.m. workout, work really hard. They eat their dinner, they hang out for a couple of hours, and then they are out. And their recovery scores are fantastic. And I was like, if I do that, I will be in the hospital in a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what's so funny we say that too, because as I reflect on that, I'm like, I've actually noticed myself switching now because I do coach so many bands in the evenings that I'm actually finding myself getting my workouts in at the same. So I think if you're really in tune, your body will naturally have an instinctive, like, this is when I need to go move. And that's what I find. Like right now, I know that I'm going to have a quick bite and I'm going to go to the gym. Like I know that, and it's 5 p.m. where I am, right? So it's like, that would never have happened even a year ago because like it's off, but I'm not going to work to the extent that I would for a morning lift. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be a much more casual bro style workout with some zone 2 intervals. And I'm going to work on my stamina and I will have a great dinner and I will come back in and I will have my steam and my sauna and I will be out like a fucking rock, guaranteed. And that also happened in a phase of my life when I was in university because those were the only times. If I missed my first thing in the morning, I'd have class and then I would get into the gym when nobody else was there. That was what I was looking for. So I'd either be working at World Health or I'd be working out at the university gym and nobody would be there after 6 p.m. It was great. So like I just capitalized on having exercise equipment to use. Right? Like, hey, this is when I can use it without like feeling like I'm a salmon swimming upstream. And that worked, and it worked great, and it is bringing me back to that era. Like it's interesting how the nostalgia kicks in. I'm listening to similar music that I worked out to when I was in university. I was like,
That's
interesting.
awesome.
It is, yeah, it's really cool. There's a lot of pop punk. It's like a lot of pop punk right now, and just tuning out the lyrics for the most part, and then just whenever it gets too much, I find myself, we need some more mic mix, like more of my music now. I just turn on my stuff. I'm like, or I'll throw Calm on, and I'll like, okay, cool. We can go back to Sum 41 now. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I just thought of something because I've been thinking about this all this week and I'd love to share this with you guys. My favorite way to limit intensity in the gym for myself,
please, what is it?
Ooh.
especially if I do have to work out later in the day, how do I make it so that the old ego, the old gym bro meathead that lives in the back of my head somewhere is just like, come on, just load it up, bro. Like just squat it. It's fine.
You can do
it. Doesn't work for squat. It doesn't work so great for squats, but
Right.
fat grips.
Yes.
Turn everything into a grip
Dude.
workout.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
God.
Or walks. I love carries. Walks. Fat
But,
grips, dude. That's
Fat grips
so good.
on, like
That's
if,
genius.
all right, if I am hitting
Yeah.
a Dubras circuit, like throw the fat grips on because that makes it a whole lot tougher.
That's-
You're not doing what you
That's
thought.
Because the little grip muscles are going to go away way before the other muscles go.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, shit, I got to stop now.
Yeah.
I love that.
Another one that I helped a lot of, actually my old lead singer and one of my best buds, Joel, I helped him get out of adrenal. Well, I can't really officially say he had adrenal fatigue, but like he showed up and like like this. He was asleep most of the. It was like he had narcolepsy, but no, he didn't. Anyways, we got him out of that by tricking, and I can't remember the name of it on the top of my head here. Tips the tongue, come on, it'll come sometime. Anyways, the idea is to take a 20% load or something, like really, really light, but still train as if you were doing 1 to 3. So high intensity reps, and then you just lessen the load to something that you could actually do like 25 reps on, right? So the idea here is to, neurotronic, there we go, neurotronic. From the Czech camp. It's in an old blog on the Czech Institute. And when you're experiencing total burnout, the first thing we cut is volume, right? So a lot of your cardio, we get rid of all of that, all of your catabolic and lots less reps. We cut the volume down. We maintain the intensity, but if we're really close to that like adrenal point, what I found was like, okay, let's go. And then it was like the lightest weight, but your body only stops because it's programmed after 3. That must have been hard. So neurologically, you'd get the same stimulant, but physically your body would be chill so that you could over time max back up, and you could still train. This is especially important with the athletes that I was training because they needed to have that feeling. So it would actually be damaging if we said, no, don't gym. They would lose it, right?
Yeah.
So we had to make them still think they were doing something. So this is something I picked up from the old days of Paul Chek. It's very, very difficult to find. I will do my best to go find that specific article because it's gold.
I'm interested. Like,
I remember you sent that to me.
Yeah, it was very difficult to find. I was like, shit.
Yes.
I found it when like 2012 after I just came back
Yeah.
from HLC when I was working with JP. And man, that changed the game because so much of my training was based on that, and I didn't realize I was like right brushing up on adrenal fatigue, and then I saw it in all my other clients that were high performance athletes. So I started to just introduce that along with wave cycles. Wave cycles were incredible. You do like a 5-3-1 or something for somebody who could really squat, and they would increase their max overnight by like 200% sometimes. It was insane. Because their one on the first wave was their 100% or 105% of what their perceived max was. And then we started with a 5, and then another 3-2-1, and then another, and then sometimes it was 4 full wave cycles of like a 90-minute workout. And these people were just neurologically taxed, but they had increased their perceived 1 or expected 1 RM by like 3-fold. It was insane, right? So it's like, that shit works, and it's a lot of neurological, like, okay, if we can coach ourselves into doing the hard thing, we can actually lift and move a lot of weight. And I love the fat grips thing, man. That's my favorite. Maybe that's the thing today. Ooh,
fat grips,
take
axle
that for a
bars.
walk. Oh my God, yeah, farmer
Love my
carry.
axle bar.
Look out! All right, kids, we've been
Good
talking for a
Friday
while.
night.
Yeah, it does. It feels like I should watch 300. And like afterwards.
You're
That's what we
so
used
into
to
that
do.
movie right now.
No, I'm into just like the finding my Tyler Durden. Yeah, I'm finding the inner Fight Club in me. We got to do shit here. So it's like the warrior has to come out. I got to find that fire inside. And movies are a great way. Cinematic masterpiece, right?
Are you starting to like get yourself a Gerard Butler 300 beard going to?
Yeah, I was supposed to shave, and I'm just like, I don't want to. I'm supposed to shave for like the whole Movember thing, and I'm like, but I don't want to. I even bought the razors, and I also bought beard oil, and that's like, I'm gonna try beard oil first, see if I like it, and it smells great. I smell like a forest. It's so beautiful. I don't know. What do you guys think? We'll put this out to you guys. Do I shave it down? I mean, it'll always grow back. That's the thing.
I like it. I think it's cool.
Yeah, but it's also Movember. It's like the one time if I do a dirty mustache, then this is the time.
Well, I thought it was supposed to be that you just don't shave at all.
No. Movember is all about like, well, that's the playoffs, man. Come on, that's like hockey. That's playoffs.
Maybe it's different. Maybe it's different in the States because it's always been this like, just like no shave November or whatever.
Oh yeah, okay. No, well, that's because like guys get really sensitive about having the mustache, but it's Movember for a mustache. Right, so I look like an absolute wreck though. Like I look like
It's like getting over your lip already.
oh yeah, I know, right? It's
That's what happens anytime you see me go from like bearded to like shaved. It's because I'm like I'm just terrible at trimming a beard, and I just refuse to learn how apparently. So I'm just like, well, it'll just come off.
Well, I mean, I can. Maybe I'll ask my stylist, Ash. Ash, what do you think? You know, Thing is, it's very salty and peppery down here, so it's like, oh.
I mean, I'm wearing a tie-dye hoodie and a Kangol fuzzy
Yeah,
hat, so
dude, you look like I was gonna say you're like
You guys are
you're
vibes.
the white LL over here. Holy smokes! It's like, yo,
I was gonna have glasses, but I haven't figured out with the glare and shit. And
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what do you guys want to wrap up on? I mean, we did a lot of stuff. We talked a lot about like cardio importance. We talked about our stamina and importance on how it applies to specificity.
Love that word.
I hate saying it. I love it, but specificity.
It was
Good
the
old
best.
said principle.
Blah, 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 said. Still holds true.
Still currently.
Still currently. I was waiting for it. Boom, boom. Any final notes? Anything that we didn't discuss? We're coming up on 1:10 right now. That's the
Feel
time
complete.
of the recording.
I mean, I would just reiterate, like, have a plan. Make sure
Yeah.
that you're progressing. It's very easy to just show up to a gym and hope that you can figure it out, or like pick a mix programming. Like, make sure that you're progressively challenging yourself so that you can
Yeah.
create that growth, not only in weights but also if you are doing the cardiovascular training. Being able to do that also helps you progress so much faster.
I think I will echo that myself. Be like, if you're a performer, look at what instrument you are utilizing and replicate in other areas, not necessarily just the gym, but in other areas of your life. How can you replicate that? I've got great stairs out a couple blocks away that Dar and I go and do our walk runs. He can't last anymore. He's getting old. Like, he does like 3 and he's taxed. I'm up and
Darwin.
coming back. He just stays. He's like, no, I'm just gonna lay here. I'm like, okay. So
See you
like when
later,
you're,
Dad.
yeah, he's like, yeah, see ya. You have fun up there. I'm gonna go get treats from this guy. That's basically what he does. He's more interested in other dog owners, not other dogs. He's like, because he knows they got treats. I'm like, yeah. Anyway, but being really specific, and it comes down to the simplest thing. Think of it, if you're a father of 3, you're going to probably have kids that have toys that get under the bed. If you can't kneel down and put your knee on the ground, that's an issue. It's not a matter of contact with the knee or no, it's like if it's important to you in your life, like if you're a drummer and you need to be able to do this kind of thing, we need to look at like ways that we can build the endurance and the strength and the lung capacity and the whole engine, the whole system. How can we do that in other areas? So just being really, really clear about what your goal is and how can we contribute to it from a physical and mental perspective, then we're going to get there faster.
Word.
Meg, did you have anything? Did we already know? Did you have a clear point?
That.
What's your clearest point? What was your biggest takeaway? What was the fun point? Thank you for being here for us.
Thank you
Yeah.
for
This is so
having
nice.
me.
Thank you.
This is the best. It's been an amazing day, and this is a great part of it.
Dope.
Keeping the goal and ensuring that the plan matches the goal.
Yeah.
And that it's okay to have flexibility within that.
That,
I think that's the biggest,
key.
yeah.
Yeah. Flexibility. And I mean,
Which is a new thing for me.
yeah.
In
Being
some
able
ways.
to like
Yeah.
adjust, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the thing. That's why it's so important. Like,
Yeah.
Coach's Corner. We're all here. We're all coaches. We're all specialists in what we do, and we
Yeah.
all work with each other. Like,
Yeah.
literally, like we need it more than
Yeah.
anybody, right? So, on that
Yeah.
note, we're all in the university, which is very cool. I got these 2 legends in the Music Fit University. So if you happen to be watching this, and you're like, yo, these cats are pretty cool. I like his hat.
Word.
Like his beard. She's really beautiful. Look at that hair. Look at that hair. She's got the hair, right? You want to be in the cool crew with the cool kids. You want to head over to Music Fit University, which you can find on school.com/musicfituniversity/about. That'll take you right to the landing page. You can find everything else at Music Fit Records. And these guys don't even know, but Music Fit Radio is coming back. Kids, look out.
Yay,
And like
yay.
these shows are all going to be a part of it. So if you guys have any thoughts, any questions, any burning desires, or just a playlist, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to talk about, please send them through to any of us. You got our handles down there. So just send it through. And I don't know. I feel complete. One word. Jeremy, what's your one word?
Said.
Cool. Meg.
Harmony.
Very nice. I'm going to go with peace.
Woo.
Nice, man.
Nice. That was cool. That was awesome.
Hey, thank
Sweet
you
flow.
guys.